Okay, what we're going to do now is that we're going to create a couple different materials, which I actually have already created, and we're going to apply different materials to a single object. And I'm going to do this with different processes. The goal of this video is to discuss the concept of material IDs as they work in 3ds Max. Material IDs are going to be very important when we go into the substance side of things, and they're very important in 3ds Max. It'll help keep things easier to maintain and what's going on, especially since it follows the 3 rules that I always ask about a model, which is it symmetrical, can it be built by primitives, and can you break it down into surfaces? Since our sword will have about 4 or 5 different materials, then we're going to need to break our object into 4 or 5 different objects, and then I'll apply it 4 or 5 different materials as sub-objects, and then I will go through the process of showing how you can assign material IDs directly to an object. So let's go ahead and start off with breaking things off. So what I'm going to do is make a duplicate of this sword, make a copy. So I hold shift and move in the X, and let's go to edit poly. Let's go ahead and start breaking pieces off. So I'll select the face for the sword. And what I'll do here is I'll just detach. Let's close that. Detach is right by the attach function, which is located always in a weird spot, never is consistent. Edit geometry, there it is. So we'll go ahead and say we got attached, so let's go ahead and detach. When this pops up, we're going to make it an object and not select these things. So let's go ahead and create this. We'll call it blade so we can find it. And let's go ahead and break off the guard. And this is why I love having a squared view, so I can just find these pieces. Let's go ahead and detach that piece, call that the guard. Go ahead and select these for the handle. And then the pommel. We'll go ahead and leave the name there for Blade SO4 because that's what we're going to work with. If we want to create a different material for the actual noogie giver, whatever that would be called, we can always break that off and give it a different setup too. Detach. We'll call it clubber thing, because I'm technical. All right. So now let's go ahead and talk about the materials that we're going to apply to our object. Now. Hit M for material editor, and we've already got our basic materials established here, so let's go ahead and say this. That's for the blade, so select, apply, and make sure it's on, which it is. You can tell the texture or material will display in the viewport because of this banner that's on. This is the guard, so let's go ahead and select that and apply it. That's the handle, which is here. Double click, select, and then this piece, we'll go ahead and make that clay, because that's what the class asked for. We'll make that, let's go ahead and make that metal too. Alright, so what I've got here is I got an object with one texture, an object with another texture, so on and so forth. I've got textures repeating on 2 different objects. Now, what this will allow me to do, if I go ahead and I'm going to just minimize that. I'm going to select the gladius object, which is the pommel, and I'm going to go to the attach. I'm going to pop up, get the pop-up, and I've got blade, clubber thing, guard, and handle. So I attach those. They're all, when this pops up, just let the default go. So everything's all right there. Again, habit of mine is to grab the double check where the welds are. I'll just select all borders. They're right where they should be. Right, we broke everything off, so I got border selected. I'm going to hold Control and click on the vertex button to convert the selection to those vertices. Now all we got to do is click on weld. Since everything's lined up perfectly, it should just weld right on up. And to double check, it's like border, and everything's airtight the way it should be. Awesome. Now we've got a sword with these materials on there, so that's how you can do that route. If you want to go through the route of actually applying it to this objects, go ahead and make a copy of this one. Hold shift and clone it. Let's go ahead and do this one. Now I'm going to go to sub-object mode. I'm going to select the actual blade, and I'm going to apply the blade material. the next part of the object. And here's where I'll use Alt to deselect. I'll leave that alone. Let's go ahead and take that, and that's the guard. So I'll apply that. Select the handle. Apply that. Select these pieces and Alt select what I don't want. And apply this. And I select this piece. And let's give it that metal there. So that's how we can go into sub-object mode and select the IDs. Now, to double check to see what kind of, if we have all the materials on here, we want to see what else is going on within the material editor. What we can do is go ahead and click on the eyedropper and select the object that we want. And what we'll see is the material editor here. I missed the material somewhere, so I'll have to find it. So here's the material editor. I have 5 materials here, which we'll have to find this one, which I can show you how we do that real fast. And now the actual material ID numbers are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here. Right, so let's go ahead and see where we want to find the actual material number 1. So if I go into my edit poly, select the polygon mode, and I go into right here with polygon material IDs, I go to select ID 1. And it's not in here. Well, this is a new bug for me to find. There is no actual polygon in here that actually has the material ID 1, but it's associated with this material. So we'll just keep aware of that. It's not going to affect anything in the long run. We just got to stay on top of it. Now, to bring up the point about how to actually apply material IDs to your objects, let's go ahead and start with this object. Right now, if I go here and I select my entire object and I go look for material editor, say let's go ahead and set ID to 1, set ID. So there's a selection of 1. If I set it, hit enter, and that should turn all these IDs to set ID 1. So now what that means, if I go in here and select this ID, and let's go ahead and get the top level of the object, we'll apply this MultiSub Material to our actual sword. And now all the IDs are 1, so what we need to do is we need to change the IDs up. So I select the blades and change the ID to match whatever number the blade is, which is 4. So I go here, set ID, hit 4, hit enter, and our blade is now the blade material. Let's go ahead and select all of that. Deselect the blade by holding Alt. And that is the 3, which is the guard. We'll go here and apply 3 to our number. Right. Go next to the handle. Go here. I'll hit grow. Grow. Sweet. Change that ID to 2. And I go here. Select those. I hit grow. 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 Deselect. Just make it all 1 there. And that's the clay one, which is actually material ID 5. Set the 5, hit 5, bam. And that is how you apply material IDs 3 different ways. Thanks.